Yeah, the ST190G. Yeah, obviously I think this driver came out, you know, you could tell straight away they made some great strides with this driver. Feel very comfortable with it. Love the strike, love the feel, love the numbers. You know, this one was easy to put into the bag pretty quickly. So yeah, really been enjoying playing this driver. It's nice that I can change a few things around too if I need to, like for different courses, different kind of flights. But you know, very happy with the way this driver's been performing. Ultimately, I like to move it both ways, but I feel some of the stuff I'm working on in my swing, I'm trying to kind of stabilize my face a little bit more, use the ground a little bit more. Like for me to do that, I feel like I'm going to hit more fades at the moment, so a little bit more holding off kind of shot. I think that's a shot that helps me get the ball in play a little bit easier, be a bit more consistent. So that's kind of the shot I've been looking at kind of lately. So.
And the numbers for that drive right there, that, you know, 2400 on the spin
with a fade.
With a fade, which is a great number. Your ball speed was still, you know, it's still up at 160 for that shot, and with clothing on and not a warm day, so that's still good. But no, the numbers here on that were ideal. I'd say the main thing we've always strived to get was, you know, making sure he could get the different shot shapes, going left to right, right to left. But one of the other things we struggled with in years past was probably spin, I would say, would be the number one thing. And now with the 190 and now coming into the 200, we've really achieved that and got the spin down to where, you know, it's optimal for Luke and it's optimal for most people.
Yeah, we've definitely worked hard on getting that spin number around, you know, 22 to 2600 range, and 24 right there. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect, because, you know, it gets to a point when, you know, you don't want too little spin, because, you know, then you got to have high ball speeds, you know, to counteract that. And, you know, Luke's not low on the ball speed, but he's not on the high end for the PGA Tour, so you got to look at that and how it flights and how it stays in the air. Yeah.
So these ones are actually more towards the face, which takes down spin a little bit.
Yeah.
This one actually, you know, is even a little bit less spin with the driver, so we're actually moving the weights to the back just to give me a little bit more spin, which is nice to have. So, you know, this newer model even has a little bit less spin, so I can play around with the lofts a little bit more. And but again, I think this ultimately has a very similar spin and characteristic as the 190G.
If you look at the generations of Mizuno drivers, like you said, we've always struggled a little bit on spin for a number of years, and the 190 family got us in the ballpark, got us where we wanted to be. And then with the 200, we're actually able to bring spin down even further. So, you know, with your ball speed right now, you've got this one all the way up, so in its lowest spin setting, but with the 200, it's actually weights are all the way back. So now as it gets warmer, as your speed increases, you're playing a little bit more, you can actually knock the spin down from there. Right. Where this one, we're already bottomed out in terms of spin. So this is going to give us a lot more flexibility. Like you said, you can now play with the lofts a little bit more and be able to adjust the spin to counter each of those. So with each generation, they're getting faster ball speeds, they're getting lower spins and more adjustability to be able to dial them in even a step farther.
Well, the first instinct is obviously put it down on the ground and have a look, and I really like the shape. I really like the way it kind of looks with my loft and these setups. That the face looks really nice and square. Like you can just tell by just like sitting on the ground that it's a good looking driver. She still has that carbon kind of feel and look at the back, which I really liked. And then the next option is to try and hit one, just to see you know, kind of what the flight is, how it feels. Yeah, I mean, it's like when you buy a car and you think, oh, there's no way they're going to make a car that feels better, and then you suddenly get the next one comes out and you're like, oh my god, it's smoother, it's softer, it drives better, corners better. So there's always ways for these companies and Mizuno especially to improve. on their clubs. Yeah, they're pretty similar. There's not too much difference. This has a little bit more roundness on the top here. You can actually see this line actually extends a little bit further towards the toe. This has a little bit more of a cut back here, but you know, overall, not a big difference, but just some subtle changes.
Visually pointed out exactly what we were trying to do, exactly where we were trying to move the mass and move things around. You know, as I talked about before, with trying to get the spins where we wanted them on each one, with the 190G, we were able to get the spin as low as we've ever had. But if there was one kind of holdback to the 190G, it wasn't the most forgiving. The MOI wasn't super high. So the new shaping of the 200G is a little bit to address that. So we were able to get a little bit more adjustability with the weights, but also with that more roundness that allows us to pull the center of gravity a little bit farther back and increase the moment of inertia a bit. So it should be a little bit more stable on mishits as well. Mizuno, as an engineering company, we like function over look. So the number one goal is always make sure it performs. Yep. So that's where the shape starts there. So if we need that extra roundness, we need that extra mass a little bit deeper to bring the center of gravity back to increase the moment of inertia, we're gonna start there. And then it's up to us and the designers to make sure that the shape flows right and it looks right at address. So while Luke, it's funny how from the engineering side versus from the player side, you do two opposite things. You start with the look, and then does it work?
But obviously, you know, you obviously want the club to perform. Absolutely. So no point in having a Ferrari with a terrible engine. So right. Obviously you guys build from the engine back. Right. And that's the way designers should be. Yep. But obviously I like to look down and see that it looks good. But obviously having that, you know, that extra mass and moving the weight a little bit further back is going to help with mishits. Right. Those numbers.
That one there was 24.39, basically the same ball speed.
Nice. A little bit more launch for it?
Launch was just a pinch higher than the ST190.
Yeah. So it's what we expected, that weight back is about the same spin rate as this one forward.
Yeah. Yes. Spin rate, very consistent.
Yeah. Very consistent.
Nice. No, I think, you know, even that first shot here was kind of off the toe a little bit, but it still maintained a pretty good flight. You know, it had good launch and it didn't topple over to the left so much. So even with some mishits, you know, it seemed like that shot's still going to be in play, and probably in the fairway. So yeah, a transition. You know, you're not going to suddenly see something that increases 10 miles an hour, but you definitely want to have a little bit more consistency. You know, for me, I'm not a power player, but I need to keep it in play. And you know, I think this driver might give me more accuracy, and that's a good thing for me.
The big thing I like about this one for you is that it gives you the ability to do more with it. Where this one, you almost, to get to the numbers, you're pretty much maxed out. Exactly. So there's not, you know, if you get to a place where you were trying to get a little bit, you know, firmer conditions, you want something that's going to run out a little bit further, there's really nowhere to go on this one. On this one, you've got ability to play around with it. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like we're starting at a more neutral position that allows you to then adjust as needed. In general, like this club to that club right off the bat, you know, on a good normal shot, you're not going to see a huge difference. You might see a touch more ball speed with this one from the new Beta titanium face, so you'd see a touch more distance. Mm-hmm. But overall, I wouldn't expect the launch parameters to be too different. Right? I mean, obviously Luke is well fit for this club, so it's nothing that we're not going to see, like you said, huge monumental gains or anything. This is all about being able to dial in and tweak little bits as needed.